This is the 2021 Mach-E 4 Premium. It is the all-wheel drive version, hence the number 4, cranking out a rather yawn-inspiring 266 horsepower, but a heart-pounding 428 pound-feet of torque, and that's where the fun comes in. This Mach-E isn't going to win on the track, and it wasn't designed to, but there are very few cars that can beat it, from a green light with groceries flying around, drinks sloshing, and all that fun life stuff, making the Mach-E both fun and exciting, but also not without some hiccups. I've spent 2 years with this car, including multiple long-distance trips, and in this video, I'll share what I've learned after 30,000 miles so you can make an informed purchase decision. Let's do work. The Mach-E is a sporty crossover SUV that comfortably sits 5. It has significantly more room than my wife's previous 2017 Jeep Cherokee by comparison, plenty of trunk space, including the frunk, and as spec'd goes around 215 miles on a single charge in warm weather. Winter weather, not so much, but we'll discuss that later. Firstly, let's address the hippopotamus in the room. Is this a Mustang? Coming from a 2018 Mustang GT Performance package and then a 2018 Shelby GT350, I feel uniquely qualified to answer this question. Firstly, I feel Ford was smart using the Mustang moniker on this line. Yes, it doesn't have a raging V8 engine, but the Mustang motif does make the car far more appealing to a Mustang enthusiast like your humble correspondent, or even people who wouldn't normally drive a Mustang like my wife, but they want a taste of that Mustang culture and experience, all while not waking up the neighbors with our boisterous exhausts. I can tell you the car per se is cool, but I was way more attracted to it due to the Mustang's styling and name. So like it or not, the people who buy it like it, and all that matters is if the car makes you happy. Also, Ford sold a ton of these and still is selling a ton of these, and it's understandable why. They're new, fresh, sleek looking, performance is great, and the price was right, and they nailed the style well. However, I will say I refer to this car as the Mach-E and never as a Mustang. A man's gotta have standards. The car cost me around a half a hunch after the tax credit I got, and I think the price was worth it for what we get. A cutting edge EV grocery getter and kid courier that makes the mundane more interesting, as a jolt of that torque is always just a foot press away. I say an errand runner, but for the adventurous, this car can also do long distance travel carefully, which I'll talk about later in this video. Let's talk about the looks. This car has been a head turner with sleek aerodynamics, sporty styling, and this glossy star white metallic tri-coat paint adding a dose of luxury. The Mach-E wins in the looks department for sure. For a crossover SUV, it's definitely sporty looking, it's unique compared to most other cars on the road, and it's got Mustang written all over it. The headlights, especially when compared to the S650, the taillights, the curves, it's a subtle and sweet electronic rendition of a true ICE Mustang, and of course, it's got those sexy Mustang badges, which again are polarizing, but I think the Mustang community is good people and they're forgiving. Long distance travel. As I said, for the adventurous, this car also is capable of long distance travel, as long as you know where the superchargers are well in advance, or you're proactive in your trip and stop at superchargers before your battery gets low. And by superchargers, I mean the ones that charge your car to 80% capacity in 45 minutes. And thankfully, that information is always just a few finger touches away on the touchscreen, which offers a robust amount of chargers that can be filtered by type, distance, and more, and navigation to those is effortless with a single press of a button. I think Ford did a great job of making it easy to find chargers. As I said, I have gone on a few long distance trips with the Mach-E, and yes, range anxiety is real. No one wants their car to die in the middle of nowhere or find a charger that takes 12 hours to charge the car, and as I found out the hard way, sometimes you plan ahead and it just doesn't work out anyway. For example, I took the kids to the Poconos this year, and I called ahead to confirm the resort had a charger on site. I made it all the way to the resort with about 20 miles to spare, gave the car to the valet, and then the next day, I looked at my Ford Pass app and the car wasn't charging. Somehow, their charger wasn't working with my Mach-E, even though reportedly it was supposed to. So I had to use my remaining miles to find a charger. I found one in some dangerous looking town that would have taken 8 hours to charge. Then thankfully, I found a Walmart nearby that had a supercharger that charged up our car while we ate lunch, thank God. I had a couple more horror stories, but ultimately, I've always made it to a charger just in time. Whether you want that stress is up to you. I would do it again, but I would definitely top off the car more along the way. Interior. I'm not going to show you my kid-ravaged seats, but looking at these fresh ones, I can tell you that Ford's Active X fully synthetic leather feels just as good, if not better than leather. It's soft and supple, while retaining a sporty look and feel, and is very easy to clean. The bucket seats keep you planted under normal use, and the panoramic sunroof gives you a nice outdoors feel from inside the comfort of your air-conditioned cabin. And there are plenty of amenities such as multiple cup holders, rear AC, and USB connectivity throughout the front and back to keep the kiddies electric electronics going. The dash blends sportiness with futuristic technology, like the 15.5-inch touchscreen, which is beautiful, refined, responsive, and leaves control of the entire vehicle just a few screen touches away. Technology. The screen even has built-in games if you're bored waiting for your kid's piano lesson, or need to entertain a toddler, or if you just like games. And I love that you have a full-color car manual built right into the car, even including video tutorials. Nice touch, Ford. This car has a 360-degree top-down view with forward and rear park assist, including guidelines, radar, and front, rear, and top-down camera views. In fact, the Mach-E will actually park itself for you, including backing into a space or parallel parking. I have tested it, but I find it to be too cumbersome to use, and I feel it could be simplified with a future software update, which is another great feature of this car. Ford's over-the-air software updates work through Wi-Fi and allow Ford to make changes to many of the car's systems, from cosmetics to even how the car brakes. For example, some people didn't like the lack of physical buttons on the Mach-E, such as in climate control, as almost everything is adjusted via the touchscreen. But Ford listened to their customers and sent a software update to add more functionality to the existing center dial. So now I can quickly hit the seat heater, for example, and then instead of looking down the whole time, I can adjust it with that dial. Same is true for temperature control and a few other functions. The instrument cluster is equally as impressive, feeding you important information such as speed, proximity to other cars around you, and lane position, as well as navigation cues and Blue Cruise. Blue Cruise is the cruise control of the future, either driving the car for you while you rest your hands on the steering wheel, or on major roadways that are approved, allows completely hands-free driving. At first, I was nervous to take my hands off the wheel and let the car drive for me, but after a while, the car builds your confidence in it. It works well at highway speeds, around corners, and even works in stop-and-go traffic. What it does not do, however, is drive you completely to your destination. For example, it doesn't take you off the highway and go door to door. It's just an advanced cruise control, and it works well for what it is. One thing I found less than ideal is I have to overtake cars myself, but I just heard that Ford released another over-the-air update again, adding that functionality and a few more things for free. I'll make a quick video of that after I test it out. I love the departure modes, which will have your car ready for you, warm in the winter or cool in the summertime, for example, which is a blessing on cold northeast winter mornings, as you can have the seat heater, steering wheel heater, and cabin warm for when you get in the car. Performance. This is where the Mach-E pulls ahead, pun intended. Yeah, the launches aren't as spectacular as my Mustang GT or Shelby, where you're going a little sideways, the wheels are chirping, and the engine is screaming. In fact, launches are quiet and effortless on the Mach-E. They're pretty much uneventful, but they are fun. We're not getting Tesla played 0 to 60 times, and in fact, even the Mach-E GT only does the 0 to 60 dash in 3.8 seconds, but the instant launches do throw you back in your seat and make for some safe fun while driving. And not only that, but the torque is useful for overtaking on the highway and from stoplights effortlessly and quietly, leaving the stragglers behind to vie for second place on their own, all effortless and without drama. The instant torque is my favorite thing about the Mach-E. Braking is good, although I feel the anti-lock brakes whispering to me sometimes, especially when it's wet and I'm going downhill, mostly due to the weight of this beast at over 4,500 pounds. But with the power of the dual EV motors on this version, you don't otherwise feel the weight of this car. It's pretty planted around corners with little to no roll, it accelerates and brakes hard, and is in general fun to drive. But at this weight, I consider it a sporty crossover, not a pony car by any means, like a real Mustang. And I don't mean that offensively. It's just like I wouldn't consider a Porsche Cayenne to be a real Porsche, but it's still a cool car nonetheless. Speaking of performance, you know those multi-lane stoplights that soon turn into single lane and you end up jostling for first place with 3 other cars and it gets awkward? In my last 2 Mustangs, I often found myself slowly taking off at stoplights and just letting others go past me, because if I tried to get ahead first, even with just a marginal application of the gas pedal, the engines made it sound like I was trying too hard, and that's embarrassing. With the Mach-E, I can quietly and stresslessly leave everyone in the dust with a 25% push of the gas pedal and watch all the cars get smaller in my rear view mirror with no sweat off my brow. I do love to get out of people's way quickly, and on at least a few occasions, the power of this car has gotten me and my family out of the way quickly when a car was barreling around a corner after I started entering the road. So the torque of this car is also a safety feature. Safety. This is mainly my wife's car, and I wanted a car that was well rated in terms of safety, and the Mach-E is. It has a driver-facing camera that tracks eye gaze to ensure drivers are paying attention to the road and not getting sleepy. My wife told me a couple of times the car told her she seemed sleepy and could use a break, and she didn't even realize she was sleepy. Kinda scary, but cool. The Mach-E has Copilot 360 2.0, including pre-collision assist with automatic emergency braking. It has pedestrian detection, forward collision warning, and dynamic brake support. I did set this to high, and it goes off sometimes when we have close calls. For example, when I'm backing out of my garage quickly and approach the wall behind me, I know I'm gonna stop, but the emergency kicks in and hits the brakes if I approach the wall too quickly. So I can say with experience the systems work well. In terms of service and maintenance, at just over 30,000 miles, I've only spent about $100 so far. Not bad considering I just spent $500 on first motorcycle service for one of my motorcycles, but that's Ducati. The Mach-E requires no oil change. In fact, the only thing I did was change the cabin filter and get some recall stuff done. Add the occasional wiper fluid, and this car is the definition of low maintenance. Ford seems to listen to customers, and they've had several recalls, such as resealing the glass roof and windshield, some software updates, and a free second key fob, which I feel should have been included with the car in the first place, but better late than never. Okay, let's get to the cons. The hands-free trunk feature, which is supposed to open the trunk for you when you have your hands full of groceries when you wave your foot underneath. However, it often makes you feel like a kung fu fighter aimlessly swinging your foot around with the ensuing inevitable shame of having to reach down and hit the button to open it, because half the time it doesn't work. But when it does work, it's nice, but not worth looking silly when it doesn't. Phone as a key is supposed to let you operate the car with just your phone in your pocket. The feature has stranded me literally more than once to where I no longer trust it. I have a separate video on this. I'll link at the end of this video if you're interested. And the penultimate con: in cold weather, range plummets from around 215 miles to around 149 miles, which is not impressive. Given the extended battery is so overpriced at around $7,000 though, I just have to deal with the winter range anxiety, which usually isn't a big deal, with 150-ish miles being more than enough to get around and get back home to charge. And lastly, speaking of charging, charge time. It takes about 8 to 10 hours to charge the car on Ford's upgraded charger, and most of the time that's okay. But when you're on the road, unless you find a supercharger, it could take hours to charge. And where a regular supercharger takes about 45 minutes to get to 80% battery capacity, the Tesla only takes 15 minutes. Boo! But I'm hoping that improves in the future. An honorable mention con: it would be nice if the onboard cameras recorded in the case of accidents, people hitting your car, etc., like some Teslas do. But hey, that sounds like it could be another candidate for a software update. Although I'm not sure there is onboard digital storage for that, but maybe they could sell a hardware upgrade for it. Either way, I do have this Vantrue 3-way dash cam in 4K, and I have a full review of this as well, and I'll put it at the end of this video. Or if you want to jump in and get one of these, it's on my Amazon storefront, link in the description below. So in summary, 2 years and 30,000 miles later, the battery still offers the same miles in both summer and winter, so no discernible deterioration of battery power. You get good performance, especially torque, you get looks, the Mustang look and feel without paying over $5 per gallon of gas. However, the way things have been going in the USA, electricity prices are going through the roof, so I'm wondering if EVs still even have that benefit of being cheaper than gas. Anyway, you have effortless power to change lanes, it's quiet, there's no exhaust smell, no cold starts. That could also be a con, by the way, depending on who you are. It's high tech, there are near zero maintenance costs, and it's a blast to drive. Would I do it all again? Yes. Do I recommend the Mach-E? Wholeheartedly. Feel free to reach out below with any questions, and always remember the motto: always be kinder than necessary, and I'll see you in the next one. I love you guys.